Great rewards don't wait, so why should you? Through the Invigor Book and Buy Grower program, you could earn a $30 per bag rebate when you book all of your Invigor hybrid canola by November 14th. Talk to your retailer. Terms and conditions apply.
Joining us here on Real Agriculture, pleased to welcome back once again Canada's Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food, Minister Heath MacDonald, back in Canada from nearly a week down in Mexico, meeting with his Mexican counterparts, talking trade and a number of other issues, and looking forward to catching up to hear about that trip. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, Minister MacDonald.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Tell us a bit about the trip, the meetings that you participated in down in Mexico with your Mexican counterpart. Maybe take us through that week and some of what you learned, what you saw, and what was accomplished down there.
Well, we had a good week. I think it was successful. When you go on these trips, you never know what to expect sometimes. But the minister, or I should say, the Secretary of Agriculture in Mexico, is well rehearsed in what Canada has to offer, and we had some great discussions. We set a path forward for some prime industries, and we ranked it as a very successful trip, and then we ended up in Guadalajara, and we got to visit with some stakeholders down there. In fact, a couple of one business that owns a couple of processing plants here in Canada as well. So, in all effects, I think we had a successful trip, and we look forward to future communication with them. We developed a pretty good relationship prior to going there with the secretary, and yeah, I think that in itself paid dividends when we got there. So we felt successful, Calvin, and we hope to do more business with Mexico. And we put some perimeters in place that hopefully allows our exports to flow a little more freely in that regard.
Of course, this is all in the context of the upcoming, or maybe we could say it's already underway, the review of CUSMA, USMCA, or TMEC, as I believe they call it in Mexico. Was the main focus prep for that negotiation, or was this about getting some outcomes in more the short term, some accomplishments, some red tape reduction, and increased trade in the meantime as well?
Well, I think our goals were very specific, obviously, but and adding to that, you're exactly right. I mean, we need that relationship. We need the communication prior to the CUSMA review, and that was coming from both sides, Canada and Mexico. So that was extremely important. And then we had our specifics that we wanted to, ease requirements for things like eligible apples from the East Coast. We wanted to ensure that the phytosanitary certificates were looked at and aligned, that products like canola can pass more freely and without impediments and barriers into each countries. So there's things like that electronic certificates, digitization we talked about. We talked about sharing science. They have some issues right now with their beef herds that we may be able to assist in that regard. And then really a lot of pet food was another one, for example. Beef is, as you know, into Costco, 41 stores. Costco's expanding again. Extremely important with JBS. So they did a lot of the groundwork on that. So it's collaborating with the new world, I guess, in trade, but developing a relationship that's extremely important. And then we had some specific visits to properties, and I have to get these names right, but Group Trimex, they're a large company in Mexico that just bought a crushing plant. So Olamex is increasing their imports by 50% in 3 to 5 years, so their intake of canola. And then we met finally with Group Vita, and they're the ones that own the 2 plants, one in Manitoba and one in Alberta. And they just continue to grow. We were at their processing plant. It was very interesting to watch, but they were producing, for example, with Canadian oats, granola bars, about 800 a minute packaged, ready to go. And they were working around the clock. So things like that, I think we needed to talk to them, build those relationships, understand what their impediments are, if they have any, and work towards that. But I can tell you the secretary from Mexico, he was schooled in the US. His English is perfect. It made my job much easier. And he was fully aware of what we were looking for in regards to the regulatory issues. And then, of course, the apples, the pet food, the beef. And then we have some other things in the hopper that we're hopefully ready to discuss in the near future. So it was a successful trip by all means.
From what I understand, Mexico's economy has actually been doing quite well. Do you see Mexico as kind of an untapped market that Canada has maybe overlooked, to where we haven't fully gained value from it that we could have in the past, or is this going to be a market that's still tough to crack, and we'll have to scratch and claw to get all the market share that Canadian exports can, that kind of thing? Or how do you come back from this trip feeling about the Mexican market and its potential?
Well, they're growing their middle class. We stayed in Mexico City, Calvin, and it's 23 million people. So that indication alone gives us a sense that they import close between 40 and 50% of their food. So they can't feed themselves. So they need their food to come from somewhere. Canada's prime in that regard. And I think they're willing partners right now. I think with everything that's going on geopolitical, we have a partner in Mexico and they have a partner in Canada. So hopefully we can, we presented to them that they have a trusted partner in Canada. And building on those companies, we had a minister of Agriculture from Manitoba, a minister from Ontario Agriculture. We spoke at round tables. We hosted events. It was amazing to hear how invigorating everybody was to want to do more. And I think that's key. There's some new opportunities too, but I think enhancing what we already have there is especially important. And I believe there's another session in February, if I'm not wrong, that many more groups will be going down. Most of it will be focused in Guadalajara, which is a very agricultural place. So I look forward to that. But building upon these relationships, I can't say enough about it. Being able to pick the phone up and text the secretary and him replying within minutes, extremely important. So you know what? It was a good trip, and if they were all like this, Calvin, the world would be a better place, and my job would be a hell of a lot easier. But they're not going to be all like this. But this was a good trip.
What is Mexico looking for from Canada in terms of things that that the Canadian side may have to change to gain benefits going the other way?
Well, I think a lot of it's innovation and technology. Interesting enough, I mean, Canada is out in front of plant-based science is another one for sure. But Canada farmers, we're out in front of a lot of this. And when you start talking to other countries, they say, "Oh, that's interesting." Even embryos. So for beef and stuff like that. So it's extremely important to them. And so when we start talking about the innovation technology we have, whether it's dairy or beef or what have you, even crops, they're listening intently. You can tell, and they're taking notes. So a lot of it would be in that field from us. Of course, they'll always want to maybe sell more tomatoes or something to that effect, that's part of trade. That's a part of business that we're in. But they, for example, have a real issue with it's a screwworm in their beef right now. We feel that we may be able to help them in that regard. So we're working on that. We have Canadian companies that are fully well aware of that situation, one right here in Ottawa. So those are the types of things that we can do in turn. So it's a this for that type of thing, but it's mostly innovation technology and plant-based science. So bioscience is what they're interested in.
So to me, that is somewhat interesting because the previous administration in Mexico had some restrictions on genetically modified crops, and that was an interest of the previous president particularly. Did you get any sense of that still being an obstacle for Canadian exports and potentially canola being implicated in that, given vast majority of canola is genetically engineered?
No, we didn't actually, and I think with our Canada Mexico action plan, interesting. The Prime Minister and the President have formed a really strong relationship as well. So it, excuse me, it allowed us to go in behind and do our job, specifically in these markets. So it's something that wasn't brought up to us. And again, we have people ordering more canola. There's one company there increasing by 50% over the next 3 to 5 years. So we were in that plant, we seen it, we talked to them, and they're excited to grow. So it was a good conversation all the way around with everybody. Basically, we met, and I look forward to getting back there. To be quite honest with you.
All right. How much talk was there about the upcoming CUSMA USMCA review? Of course, Canada and Mexico have a lot in common when it comes to being very trade dependent on the U.S. market. Was there discussion about how countries are going to approach those negotiations?
Well, I think part of this visit was to develop that relationship, to have those conversations prior to or during. So being able to fully understand where they're coming from within those negotiations is important, and that's basically the outcome that we wanted. We wanted to be able to talk about it. We wanted to be able to connect with one another when we had to, and maybe utilize that for those trade negotiations.
There's been talk of the U.S. administration potentially taking more of a bilateral approach. Is that something that Mexico and Canada have? Did you have any discussion about the potential pros and cons, or whether you'd be for and against more of a bilateral versus trilateral type North American trade agreement?
No, we didn't, and I think we both realize the importance of CUSMA. The three countries have benefited, no matter what we hear now in the media and the geopolitical landscape we see. But I think all three countries would somewhat agree that CUSMA has been working extremely well. I mean, Mexico and Canada alone increased their trade since 2018 or 19 by 50%. So it's been very beneficial to both of us, and that's the route we're trajectorying towards. And I think that's exactly the way Mexico is looking at this as well. And so that, at this time, Dominic LeBlanc's down there every second week, and we seem to be not in too bad of a space right now with the U.S. Knock on wood, that can change in a heartbeat. But we're working hard to make sure that we get a fair deal for Canada, and hopefully Mexico is alongside us as well.
Mm-hmm. We are seeing, there were reports earlier today or late yesterday that Mexico's economy minister made some comments about the renegotiation of the North American trade deal being 90% done. Uh, do you agree with that from your perspective, or is it a matter of the final 10% still being the majority of the work on the deal?
Well, I can't speak. I didn't see that report, so I really can't speak too much about it. But look, 96% of our products are moving tariff-free right now into the U.S. I don't know exactly relevant to Mexico or what they say, but I can tell you from meeting with their Minister of Agriculture, we want CUSMA to remain intact as much as possible. We want to be a part of that, and we're going to work towards that.
Final question, then I have to ask you. The budget is just around the corner. We also have the upcoming additions to the nation building project list before the Grey Cup is happening here in Manitoba. Any word in terms of agricultural stuff that we should be expecting in the budget or that nation building list?
Well, certainly. I certainly hope so. I think the infrastructure side, I hope, is something that we're keying in on. I think if we want to do trade, we have to get things to market, and we have to do it cost effective and in a timely manner. So that's something that I know even the Prime Minister has said before, that he understands it. He fully understands how important agriculture and agri-food is to the economy of this country. And if he wants to grow that economy, he knows he needs to be focused on that as well. So I think, obviously we want to look at, make sure that we're and do a scrub of our programs and make sure we're being effective with everything we do here. And I think, I'm relatively new of 6 months, and if there's duplication out there, then we need to take a look at it and see where we can better put our resources. That type of thing is part of this package too, but certainly, hopefully there'll be some good stuff in there for agriculture.
The increase to the capital gains tax on January 1st, is that going to be in the budget, removal of that?
Well, I think that was one of the first things the prime minister did. Between that and the carbon tax, I don't know which came first, but they were both around the same time. So I think everybody's looking towards that, saying that deadline, and maybe it would have been easier to come out and say we're doing it no matter what. But that's up to him. If there's minor tweaking to it, I have no idea. But we're there and we voiced our advocacy in regards to that. So.
All right. We will stay tuned and appreciate you taking the time to chat with us again today, Minister MacDonald.
All right, Calvin. See you. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah.